How many times do we have to teach you this lesson, old man?
I love the young people. In a world of shit.
Yes, it is true. I, Johnny Bendick Jr., is gonna take over Atticus the Death Metaler's room and his channel so I can promote Undertaker Freak the Death Metaler. So get that shit out of here. I'm just kidding, it's just me. Hey everybody, this is Atticus the Death Metaler, and oh my goodness, some shit has been happening since I have been working on my two-part special for Valentine's Day. But since all that is water under the bridge, I think I have enough time and energy, and I had to let shit marinate so that I can make a proper video on this whole drama shitstorm involving the metal community. So I think you all know what this video is about, since you probably can see the title. But yes, this video is going to be involving a certain washed up death metal vocalist that I've made a video on my death metal reviews on his band, Chris Barnes of 6 Feet Under. Apparently, he has gotten onto some shit throughout this month and later, and late January with his antics, but I felt like that I also really need to talk about this shit, bring in my 2 cents and how I feel about all this entire fucking drama and what transpired. So, to all of you who are living under a Dwayne Johnson, what is Chris Barnes going up in arms around the current wave of death metal? So, as our Lord and Savior Varg Vikernes always says with every rant that I've made, take it away.
Let's find out.
So all this transpired when a podcast happened on to Knotfest, bringing up some of the most established as well as current new vocalists of the death metal scene as of right now. Where Knotfest held interviews with the legendary George Corpse Grinder Fisher, Trevor Sturnett of the Black Dahlia Murder, Chase Mason of Gatecreeper, by the way, check those motherfuckers out, and Alex Jones, just not the Alex Jones that all of you guys know, but Alex Jones of the new death metal band that I stumbled upon called Undeath, which I will talk about later. So basically, they were just talking about the current situations of death metal and where death metal is going on right now, which, I mean, I've never seen the podcast, but I can clearly tell that yes, there has been some new blood within the death metal scene, which I will get to later. But I would safely say that death metal is not dead, and that a lot of new blood is taking up onto the ranks of the old, as in Corpse Grinder and Trevor Sturnett. Now, Trevor Sturnett has been in the business for a good chunk of his life. Corpse Grinder has been in it for, like, forever. And so it's just good to see that, like, some new blood is taking up over to the ranks of the old. So the old is passing on to the torch of the new, which I'll talk about later. But upon the dank, weed-infested depths of the outskirts of Tampa, Florida, Chris Barnes took offense to all this and decided to tweet about it. Now, before going into the depths, if you guys want to know why a lot of people are, making fun of Chris Barnes, I mean, watch my Death Metal Reviews episode on his latest release, Nightmares of Decomposed. It's a funny video, and yeah. Before delving into this, I'm going to be reading it on his vocals, and I saved a bunch of screenshots on my phone, so get ready. So upon seeing the podcast, Chris Barnes brought out a tweet around in January 27th, 2022, stating this.
I just watched a death metal podcast on YouTube that was done a week ago with a top death metal vocalist. It made me physically ill. I despise what this genre has become.
My voice is going to be so raspy after doing this. So upon seeing this tweet, Jamie Josta of Hatebreed decided to respond to Chris Barnes' tweet. Now, just a little bit more into depth, even though Jamie Josta is a prominent musician in the hardcore scene, Jamie Josta has always had a soft spot. He has always loved death metal, and he's often like promoted death metal in like most of the hardcore show that he's done, which explains why hardcore bands like Harm's Way, Knocked Loose, and Great American Ghost, just to name a few, have incorporated a lot of death metal riffs into their music. Like for instance, Great American Ghost have Morbid Angel riffs, as well as Harm's Way and Knocked Loose incorporating a lot of Swedish death metal riffs. And also, like, Swedish death metal in return has been influenced by hardcore itself. So, aside from that little tangent, Jamie Josta responded by saying this: "Come on the podcast and discuss." So all of you guys know that Jamie Josta has a very good podcast himself, and Barnes responded by saying,
"No thanks, brother. I have no need to jump on the bandwagon. You don't get it."
"Weak.
I'm here to play that game. You have fun though, bro."
You're the one playing games. You hate what the genre has become. But do you ever promote or discuss new bands or try and help build anything in the genre?" Which is actually a very, very, very responsible response to that of Chris Barnes, in which Barnes responds by saying this:
I will promote.
Oh my god. Oh right, that's beneath you, LOL.
I'm just not to see.
And so that was basically what it was. But originally, like, Josta was saying, hey, come on and let's discuss about it. There's no jumping back here and there. I'm not gonna roast you. I'm not gonna make fun of you, because we all know that, like, Chris Barnes is a lolcow in metal in itself. Now, I know most people will say that Varg Vikernes is also a lolcow, but that's debatable. But I can see why people would make fun of Varg Vikernes. But I would also say that Chris Barnes is, in a way of himself, a fucking lolcow. Now, that went on, and I mean, Josta was being very reasonable until Chris Barnes decided to be a fucking baby about this. And then, lo and behold, I stumbled across a post on Facebook where pretty much it was Chris Barnes saying,
I will jump anything to accept except for me.
And I shamelessly shared it myself, and I laughed about it as well. But later on, it was proved that it was fake. It was absolutely fake. So there was that. Now, upon that little drama with Jamie Josta and Chris Barnes, a fuck ton of people decided to go after and just have a bit of fun with Chris Barnes, which I will show you all these screenshots right here. Now, yes, like, people have made fun of Chris Barnes before, but ever since that whole Twitter drama between him and Josta, everyone just decided, yeah, we're just gonna, like, make fun of him. And so everyone basically bum rushed on Chris Barnes on his Twitter, and basically Chris Barnes just blocked everyone. Just blocked everyone that remotely even made fun of him or just, like, responded to him. And, like, even someone that responded to him saying, like, Happy Hanukkah. He blocked this person! He blocked this person! I mean, anti-Semitic much? I would definitely say. Now, a lot of people, especially in my Discord, have been saying this, and I'm just gonna be very fucking blunt over here. Like, a lot of people have been comparing most of the people that Damien Skyfarers went after, comparing him to John Dance Jr., Undertaker Freak 1127. So I'm gonna do it on how Damien Skyfarer said this. I've noticed a lot of people have been comparing Chris Barnes to that of CTB. And I just gotta say this, you're all fucking wrong. You're just wrong. You're fucking wrong, and shut up. I hate to be this person. You're all abhorrently fucking wrong. Because at least, like, hell just froze over, but I am defending CTB. Like, CTB, despite how much of a brazen and belligerent asshole that CTB was, at least he had the fucking cojones. He had the fucking balls. I would give a lot of respect over to CTB for basically committing career suicide by being headstrong and taking on everyone. Like, he took on everyone and kept up on that meltdown for almost the entirety of 2020. How fucking dare you, compare him to Chris Barnes when Chris Barnes has been blocking everyone on Twitter. He's basically a certain someone that I vowed never to make another video on or mention his fucking name on. That is what Chris Barnes is. So all of you, I should respectfully say, shut the fuck up. Just shut up. Not everyone should be comparable to that of CTB at all whatsoever. So just stop it. Now, since Chris Barnes has been dogpiled and bum rushed the fuck on over on Twitter, on around not too long ago, Chris Barnes made one final tweet before calling it quits. He basically just stated this:
I stand by my original statement. All the things that is going on the team. All the people trolling me proves my point. All the bitch-ass media making headlines out of it proves my point. Fuck your tonight. Eat a dick and go
and essentially was him going,
I'm done with you.
essentially just that. But that was just the end all be all onto Chris Barnes. Now, after that whole fucking, crybaby tweet, there was some light at the end of the tunnel and just stuff that I just really want to bring forth. Just because, this channel in general has, the very fucking grounds of Atticus the Death Metal was just to show off amazing music, especially my absolute love of death metal. And so, after all this happened, the current vocalist, Corpse Grinder, basically the GOAT of death metal vocalists, and also my favorite death metal vocalist, and one of just the most humblest motherfuckers I have ever had the privilege of meeting himself. Just an absolute honor. Even, me telling him, he was like, oh, don't say that. Which just goes to show an absolutely humble Corpse Grinder is. There was one interview that he brought forth over the aftermath of the drama between Barnes and Josta, in which he stated this: the scene is just as healthy as it's ever been. It's just as great as it's ever been. It's not dead. It's not terrible. I'm proud of the death metal scene today. I'm so proud of it. I think it's amazing. I think there's so many great bands. As you know, look, we're going out on tour with Revocation and Whitechapel. Two awesome, great bands. Also, not to mention Shadow of Intent, which is an amazing symphonic deathcore band. And the scene couldn't be better. And anyone who thinks otherwise, kiss rocks, because I'm so proud of the death metal scene. And I encourage everyone to go out. Listen to the old bands. Of course, the old way paved the way. Go listen to Possessed. They're the first death metal bands. Also death. Go listen to them. Listen to everything in between. Listen to Creator, who I think are kind of the bridge, a death thrash band. Without Creator, there would be no Cannibal Corpse. Listen to those bands and listen to obviously all the old classic bands like Cannibal Corpse and Death, Obituary, Deicide, Morbid Angel. I mean, all those bands. Then you have Eon. You have the Black Dahlia Murder and Dying Fetus. And like I said, newer bands like Gate Creeper has been around for a while. There's so much great death metal going on. The scene has never been better. And anyone who thinks otherwise, I don't know what to tell you. And it really just proves the point. Because, Chris Barnes is definitely the one uncle you have that is, bitter and not really cool. Just a very shitty uncle. And meanwhile, Corpse Grinder is just a really awesome, cool uncle. He's basically my Uncle Mickey in one of my mom's brothers. The really cool uncle. That's essentially what Corpse Grinder is. But, I mean, when you think about it, all the great death metal bands that I grew up listening to, all those great death metal bands, like Cannibal Corpse, Obituary, Morbid Angel, Immolation, Nipples Hardened, Suffocation, Unleashed, Grave, Incantation, which I met John not too long ago with Niall, really awesome person, and Cataclysm. Like, all those great death metal bands that have been around the late 80s, 90s, 2000s, 2010s on forth, I mean, they're not going to be around for much longer. I remember reading an article on one of the members of Cannibal Corpse saying, like, yeah, I don't think we're going to be around for much longer. And it's just, you know, it is what it is. It's just the old saying, as I've mentioned earlier on this video, the old group passes on the torch for the newer blood. That's how it's always been. And, I mean, all the death metal bands, like, that he stated, and just the podcast in general, like, I will bring out some new death metal bands that I would encourage all of you guys to listen to, which are these following bands right here: Archspire, Venom Prison, Feral, Contrarian, Abyssus, Ingested. Oh, by the way, hi Jason, it was awesome getting to see you again. Embryonic Devourment, Creeping Death, Corrupted Saints, which is basically a new death thrash metal band from my area of Jacksonville. So I'm just hoping that these guys watch this video and they appreciate what I'm doing. Warcrab, First Fragment, 1914. One of my favorite current new wave of death metal bands, Vitriol. I have met Adam and Kyle like twice. Really awesome people, but they're just one of the most amazing death metal bands out there. I encourage all of you guys to check them out. Hooded Menace, Bear Mace, Illustrium, Exocrine, Crypta, and basically Crypts of Despair from Lithuania. Basically, last year, their album they brought out last year was what I dubbed the greatest death metal album of 2021. Like, all amazing, great death metal acts I encourage every and each one of you guys to check out. It's just amazing because, like, most people think, like, oh, death metal's dead, or they watched Punk Rock NBA's video on just what killed death metal. And, you know, I mean, yeah, most people would say that, like, death metal is dead with commercial success, but I would say that there's, like, a new renaissance of death metal coming out in the woodworks where a lot of, like, you know, Gen Zers and millennial generations are going after. And of course, like, yes, you have the deathcore bands out there, and then, you know, the technical death metal bands. Now, yes, First Fragment and Archspire are tech death bands, but they're very fucking unique. You have this huge reemergence and a renaissance of just millennial generations and, like, the millennials and the Gen Zers basically making new death metal acts, like Chase Moody of Corrupted Saint. Phenomenal guitarist. And, like, he's a prodigy. A fucking prodigy off of, you know, the Jacksonville death metal scene. And, you know, there's the Orlando and Tampa scenes. It's just, you know, there's just a revival, a renaissance coming around of just death metal. And I personally fucking love it. Now, before I end this video, I just want to lay down just a few things in regards to Chris Barnes. Now, I know that every one of us likes to poke and make fun of him, but ever since I went to the Fit for an Autopsy and Niall shows this month, I cracked a few jokes here and there on Chris Barnes. We all laughed, but a lot of my friends said the same thing I'm about to say right now. Like, yeah, it's funny and poking fun over here, but, you know, I kind of feel sad for Chris Barnes. And it's just sad on what he's become. And even though, like, yes, I have made fun of Chris Barnes on my Death Metal Reviews episode and on this video right now, but, you know, just like with a certain person from Marietta, Ohio, I really think that we should just give it a rest, and it's just time to stop. It's just time to stop. Unfortunately, I know a lot of people are not going to take with what I'm about to say under consideration, because I know it's the fucking internet. I'm not everyone's mommy or daddy, but this is just, you know, my personal views, like my personal thing. Guys, please stop dunking on Chris Barnes. Like, yeah, we can make fun of him here and there, but it's just like, Chris Barnes' tale is just a Greek tragedy. And, I mean, Chris Barnes, in a way, did bring out the commercial success back in the early to mid-90s for death metal. Like, Chris Barnes is a fucking legend on his own. Like, without him, Cannibal Corpse wouldn't be in its success that it is right now. Now, yes, Corpse Grinder has been grinding with the band, along with the two original members of Cannibal Corpse, Alex Webster, one of my favorite bassists, and Paul Mazurkiewicz, another one of my favorite drummers. But it's just like, I mean, Chris Barnes did in fact bring out the commercial success for death metal. He brought Cannibal Corpse, a fucking household name, into death metal. Yeah, you people can say that, oh, Possessed and Death were the originators of death metal, but the one band that really brought out the commercial success for death metal, obviously fucking Cannibal Corpse. Now, sadly and unfortunately, the battery on my camera died, so I have to shoot this one segment onto this video. But I also forgot to mention that Alex Jones off of Undeath did a little bit of an article saying shit like, yeah, Chris Barnes is a anti-vaxxer right-wing ghoul. Though, I mean, who knows? But thank you for the free promotion. And that's just the one old tale in the book, which is the Streisand effect. Now, I have never even heard of Undeath except for that podcast, and then Chris Barnes talking shit about the new state of death metal, and thus a lot of people, like myself, went to check out Undeath, and lo and behold, they're not a pretty bad death metal band. And that is just the one trick in the book, the Streisand effect, where a lot of governments or like people tell you like, hey, you can't read this book, you can't watch this film, you can't listen to this music, it is very bad, and it's like the fucking downfall of society. It makes you sexist or racist, or makes you reject Christianity, it makes you want to suck dick or some shit. But it's just like, people are told this, and yet they fucking do it. They fucking do it. It's the Streisand effect onto Undeath. And it's just another great death metal band that I would encourage every one of you to check out. Now, I know death metal is just not everyone's cup of tea. I understand that. But there is just a bunch of great bands from other subgenres of metal and also just other brands of music to check out. And Undeath is just one of those bands. And it's just great knowing that a lot of people are getting more into death metal now that we're reaching over into the 2020s. It really warms my heart knowing that like younger generations are getting more into extremer versions of music, getting more into death metal, and just, paying homage to like the death metal bands of the late 80s and early 90s. It's a really warm, heartfelt feeling. I also forgot to mention another thing on to the whole drama with Chris Barnes, is that some of my friends on Discord did state that like they were mixed onto Chris Barnes, but they did agree with what his approach was, as basically talking about a lot of people in the death metal scene having their like, the correct political views on on society and all this other shit. Now, you could be right in a lot of stuff on that. I could agree onto that. But then again, like, we don't really know, because if Chris Barnes actually decided to be on the podcast with Jamie Josta, he would elaborate on all this stuff. And it would have been a reasonable discussion if Chris Barnes didn't act like a belligerent, a dumbass on the podcast with Jamie Josta. If both sides could just agree or disagree like responsible fucking adults, they would have a pretty good discussion. And also another thing, I know, please don't make fun of Chris Barnes. There's only one person who is dead who is allowed to make fun of Chris Barnes. And I think you all know who the fuck I'm talking about. That is all I gotta say. Now, if Chris Barnes is watching this, just so you know, man, I don't hate you. I don't hate you at all whatsoever. I think you're obnoxious. You did play a good role into death metal's popularity, but, I mean, you're just washed up. And it's unfortunate that a lot of people that don't know when to quit, knowing that they're fucking washed up, it's just, the perfect Greek tragedy in my sense. But guys, especially in my, fan base, just don't go after Chris Barnes. Just please don't. So what are your guys' thoughts and opinions on this whole drama with Chris Barnes? Do you like 6 Feet Under? Do you like the albums Haunted, Commandment, and Undead, which are my bread and butter for 6 Feet Under? What did you think about Nightmares of the Decomposed? What do you think about his arguments over to death metal? Leave it all down on the comments below. And stay tuned for more videos to come. Without further ado, ladies and gents, I am Atticus the Death Mailer. Hope you like this video. Subscribe to my channel. Links are down in the description below. Keep it metal. Stay safe. Stay healthy. Have an excellent and blessed day, y'all. Skull.